Yes, you did read the title of this video correctly. This '08 CRV is getting a free WBJ. What? A free wheel bearing job. All right, let's stop messing around. Let's get down to the shafts of this thing. So as you can see on this CRV, one of the studs is broken off. And the reason why I'm doing a free job is because I broke it off. Now, I have no idea what happened. I had just finished doing the front struts on this thing. As you can see, struts are brand new. And the lug nuts came off just fine. They went on just fine. But then I remembered that I had to do something else. I couldn't remember. Something that involved me taking the wheels off again. And when I went to remove this one, it just snapped. Like no warning, no nothing. Like I said, the lug nuts went on and off perfectly fine. And then the next time I tried to remove it, snap. So I felt bad. I told the owner, hey, if you buy the parts, I'll do the job for free. All right, I got a jack stand underneath the car already right here. So let's get this wheel off of here. Let's see if the screws on the rotor come off easily. Separate the brake hose from the strut assembly. I'm going to try to get the cotter pin out of here. It's already halfway out. The reason why I want the outer tie rod disconnected is because it's going to let us move the knuckle in any direction we need to, and it gives us better access to the rear of the caliper. Oh my goodness, that never happens. And now we could turn the entire knuckle just like this, and we got better access to the back of these bolts. Once again, these are 19s. She was under tight like a tiger. I don't know why I took that one out completely. It's probably not a good idea. I usually leave them on until they're both loose. Yeah, that's not normal. And guys, I didn't touch the stuff. When I came in here to do the strut assembly, I had no reason to touch any of this stuff, you know, as far as the brakes. So that wasn't me putting that on that tight. Let me get the big gun. I need hearing protection too. I just realized that the battery on my impact gun was pretty low. So I put a fresh one in. Let's see if it makes a difference before we get the big gun. And that's the difference between a dead battery and a good battery. Came right out, no issues at all. There's a rust lip on the rotor right here, so I'm gonna have to spread the pads just a little bit. Hey, do you guys want a pro tip? And I guess it's kind of a pro tip at life. So if a customer says, hey, I recorded that noise that my car was making, let me show you on my phone. Never stand behind them while they're unlocking their phone. Why? I can't tell you how many times I've seen this before. And it's mainly with guys. Let's just say the last time they locked their phone, they were looking at things that are adult themed. Whether it's pictures of them, pictures of their girlfriend or wife, or they were just on the good old e-web watching the adult themed videos. And the second they unlock their phone, it just hits you in the face right there and you just happen to be looking at it. Trust me, they get super embarrassed. They try to come up with an excuse and blah blah blah. So I can't tell you how many times I've seen stuff like that. Just stand back, let them unlock their phone and show it to you. So I got the caliper hanging off the strut using a hook right here. We can get the rotor off now because it's just sitting here loosely. Get that out of the way. And right now is a good time to get the axle nut off. So let me find out what size this is. Found the socket that fits. I don't know what size it is because all my sizes have rubbed off of my sockets. Let's see if we can zip this off. And I already saw the axle push in, which is a good sign. It's not going to fight us. Very nice. How much? Since the axle is free of the hub, I'm going to use my slide hammer right now to try to get this out of here. And while it's attached to the strut assembly, once we get the hub pulled out, then I'll disconnect it from the strut. Alright, so I got my slide hammer attachment bolted down to the hub. We'll go ahead and screw this in. Guys, like I said at the beginning of the video, this is a free job. I'm doing all this work. I'm not getting paid for any of this stuff. If you could be so kind, there's a YouTube thanks button at the bottom of this video. I would appreciate a cup of coffee. Now I'm hoping that the hub just comes out very easily and doesn't put up a fight. Let's find out. It's getting loose, so it is moving. There goes the brake pad. That off to the side. Not as easy as I was hoping. I'm trying to think here. Do I continue with this method or do I try something else? I think I need to switch tools on this thing. So look at this. I'm trying to remove this lug nut and it has locked up. That's exactly what happened to this one. So now I'm just gonna get my big impact gun and we're gonna snap it off. Ready for it to snap? Sure enough, the stud is inside of there. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the strut from the knuckle. You got to be careful with this sensor, you don't want to damage it. And we can even disconnect it from the body up here to give us even more slack. In order to get this wheel bearing out, we got to remove the ABS sensor, and these things have a tendency to either the bolt to snap off or the sensor doesn't want to come out and it gets damaged trying to remove it, or both at the same time. So you can see how the sensor overlaps the wheel bearing right there. Place your bets now. Ah, it actually came out. All right, that's the first obstacle. This is where the penetrating fluid comes into play. And I like to use this tool when I'm trying to remove sensors. It's made out of metal. You can see how it has almost like this knife edge right here, so you could really get into some tight places and pry, and it's pretty dang strong. Alright, so I managed to get it underneath the sensor where the bolt goes. I'm just going to gently pry, and more penetrating fluid. Another trick to get them to break free is to try to get them to rotate inside the hole. I'm just going to tap it sideways very lightly. You see how it's spinning? All this movement back and forth, up and down, is what helps to break the bond and get this thing out without damaging it. So if you plan on getting out this sensor without damaging it, really take your time. This is not something to rush. Sometimes it doesn't matter how much time or effort you put into it, they're just gonna break, but sometimes you get lucky. Okay, I can't hold the hammer, the punch, and my prying tool all at the same time, but I'm just using the actual punch itself as a hammering tool. Now, of course, there's not a lot of mass here, but it still works to move the sensor back and forth. And I'm using my other hand to pry up with this tool. And just little light baby taps as I pry up. And guys, it seems to be moving. It seems to be coming up. Look at that. Perfect condition. No damage at all to that sensor. As you can see, I got the puller set up to pull the hub out. This is going to be the Astro 78830. It's ready to go. Wasn't that a lot less effort than using a slide hammer? It's stupid because I always resort to the slide hammer first and then I always end up regretting it, and then I'm like, that was a waste of time. I should have just went to this one first, and I keep making the same mistake over and over. Anyway, this thing pulled out like butter. You can see we now have our snap ring exposed. Let's go ahead and yank that out of here. With snap rings, it's always a good idea to use penetrating fluid, and then try to shock them, basically hit the snap ring. And that just kind of helps to break that bond of rust. I got regular snap ring pliers here, some Knipex ones. Let's see if we could get these to work without having to resort to the big boys. Yeah, nope. Not worth breaking my toe over this. Let me get my big snap ring pliers. So here's the size comparison of my snap ring pliers. You see what I mean by big boy. This is going to be the OTC 4513. Oh my goodness, they still don't want to budge. Alright, so that's a sign that we need to break the snap ring free from all the rust. That's what's holding it in place. Let me get the air hammer. Wow. I start to peel this thing out. And of course the tool slipped and I hurt my hand. If you didn't hurt yourself at least once, you're not doing the job right. Anyway, there goes the snap ring. That's out. That was a nightmare. To press out the wheel bearing, I'm going to be using the Astro 78825. So here it goes right here. Let me go ahead and get this set up on the car. Alright, so we're all set up here. Let's give it the salsa. Oh, I hate this damn impact gun. The battery keeps coming loose. It's so frustrating. There goes the wheel bearing. So this is where it's time to do a little bit of maintenance. You want to clean up all the corrosion, basically where the snap ring is going to sit. That's one of the most important things. So don't just go slapping in the new parts. Do a little bit of cleanup right now. After you're done with the wire wheel, a good brake parts cleaner goes a long way. After the brake parts cleaner, compressed air. That looks really good to me. So at this point, you could press it in dry. I don't like to do that. You could use a light like penetrating oil, WD-40, and I even put grease on these things. It doesn't really matter. Majority of it gets squeezed out. Just gonna put a little bit of grease here and then basically spread it out with my finger. Make sure it's pretty thin, because anything extra just gonna get squeezed out. It would be wasted. Also, don't forget, right now is the time to clean up the bore where the ABS sensor goes. As you can see, I've already cleaned mine out. Even the mounting surface has to be cleaned. Make sure you get the rust off of that. And I got it to the point where the sensor drops right in, no issues at all. Comes right back out, just how it should be. So I'll spray it with some CRC to protect it from corrosion in the future. But the point is, make sure you clean that out right now while the wheel bearing is out of the knuckle. Here goes all of our new parts. We got 5 new lug nuts, a wheel bearing which I had in the freezer, a new hub, and a brand new snap ring. And while we're here, it doesn't hurt to check the wheel bearing. Make sure the magnetic pickup ring for the ABS is fully intact, meaning someone didn't drop this thing and then return it to the store with a damaged ring. Everything looks good here. All right, once again, wheel bearing out the freezer. Now you have to make sure you put this thing on the correct way. It only goes in one way. You can see it's got the magnetic pickup ring on one side and it doesn't have it on the other side. So the pickup ring has to go towards the inside. If you're wondering why I put it in the freezer, well, metal contracts when it's frozen and it makes it easier to press in. You'll know when it's in. The sound of the impact gun will change, and if you keep an eye on your socket, you'll notice pretty much when it stops spinning. And from this side, it does look like it's fully seated. I could see the groove where the new snap ring has to go. So as you can see, that new wheel bearing pressing pretty easy, and that's the benefit of freezing things. It just helps. So you guys saw I struggled to get the old snap ring off, right? And if you look at the side profile, this thing's pretty much twisted and bent. So not to mention the dings and dents it has on it for an air hammer. So that's something ideally you don't want to use. If you're doing a job like this, order everything you're going to need brand new. It'll just make your experience way easier. The snap ring looks like it goes in any direction. I don't see a bevel or a mark indicating which side is out. So typically, if I can, I like to put the snap ring up top, because when you put it towards the bottom like that, well, we all know water and grime tends to collect in the lower spot, right? So if you put this in there, the most important spot that you have to engage with the snap ring is sitting in all that rust and corrosion that just builds up inside this lip. Whereas up top, it's not as bad. I hope that makes sense. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my thoughts on it. So we should be able to get this new snap ring in just by using a regular set of pliers. And that definitely popped in 100%. But it doesn't hurt to go around it, give it a few love taps. And to help against corrosion, I like to use CRC. Everyone who watches my channel knows this is what I use. Just my thing, not a sponsor. And if you kind of go heavy towards the bottom right here, it collects and dries up, and it kind of stops the water from getting in because the CRC is already occupying that space, if that makes any sense. So we're ready to press in the new hub. As you can see, I put a little bit of grease on this as well. As you can see, I got everything set up. This is the point of no return. Make sure you have your snap ring in before you press in this hub, or yeah, you're not gonna have a good day. One more thing I have to mention is when you're pressing in the hub and you have your backing plate back here, you have to make sure you're supporting the inner race. So you don't want the biggest plate back here that covers the entire wheel bearing. There's no need for that. You just need to make sure you're covering that inner race to support it as you're pressing against it, because you could actually damage the brand new wheel bearing by not supporting that inner race, and when you go to press it together, you just mess everything up. So guys, at this point, everything else is pretty much basic stuff. You guys already know I'm just gonna put everything back together. So I'm not gonna waste any more of your time. Let me reassemble everything, and then I'll bring you guys along for the test drive just to confirm that everything's fine, and even I'll show you guys the torquing of the lug nuts. All right, so everything is all set. I looked up the torque spec for this car and it says 80 foot-pounds. I don't like 80, guys. To me, it's stupid low. Let's bump it up 10. So we're doing 90 foot-pounds. And I've already gone ahead and torqued all of them. So at this point, I'm just double checking, okay? That's good to me. 90 foot-pounds, I'm happy with that. All right, let's go out for a test drive. All right, so out for the test drive. Everything sounds perfectly normal, no weird noises or anything, which is what I was expecting. And we have all 5 lug nuts on our wheel now.
So I guess there really isn't much to say about this type of repair, since it was really just because of the broken wheel stud. I guess the biggest thing here, takeaway, is I guess over torquing. I didn't know that the lug nut torque on these things was so freaking low. I typically would torque one of these down to 120 foot-pounds, and to me that doesn't seem high. But I guess when Honda's specs is 80, yeah, 120, that is high. That's 40 foot-pounds over. So I guess in a way it was my fault, and that's why I fixed it for free. And I went ahead and checked the other wheels on the car, loosened all the lug nuts, and I retorqued all of them down to 90 as well. So the car's good to go. He's not gonna have any more issues with broken wheel studs. So that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and like always, thanks for watching.